Evening, I would like to call to order the regular meeting of the Newport News School Board for Tuesday, April 19th, 2022. On behalf of the members of the school board and the superintendent, I welcome each of you present and watching. A quorum is present to transact the business of the school division. We will begin tonight's meeting with an invocation and pledge to the flag. Here to do the honors are two students from BC Charles Elementary School, Corey Lynn Ingram and Carter Murray. First, Corey Lynn will come forward and deliver the invocation. She'll be followed by Carter, who will come forward and deliver the pledge. So Corey Lynn, please come forward at this time. Tell us a little bit about yourself before you get started.
I'm Corey Lynn Ingram, as you may already know. So I have a bunch of hobbies, but my favorite hobby is dancing and archery. My favorite color is blue and red. I really like sports, especially dancing. I've been doing dance for 7 years total.
Wow. Please go ahead with your invocation.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Corey Lynn Ingram. I'm a 4th grade student at BC Charles Elementary School. Kindness. Kindness is key. It is important to treat others with respect. Never start fights or pick on other people. It is important to be respectful and treat others the way we want to be treated. There are so many ways to be kind. If somebody falls down, help them up. If somebody makes a mistake, don't make fun of them. Even if somebody has their own style, don't make fun of them or call them names. If somebody has a different opinion than you, don't be rude. Listen to what they have to offer, not just your own opinion. Also, be careful not to boss other people around or hurt their feelings. Sometimes differences are a great way to learn new things and make new friends. Remember, kindness always works, by Corey Lynn Ingram.
Thank you, that's wonderful. Carter Murray, will you please now come forward and tell us a little bit about yourself before leading us in the pledge?
My favorite color is red, blue, and golden. And I like animals, and I always wanted a pet dog. And I have a baby sister and a big brother, and he's been here many times. And I like that me, my brother, and my mom have a pool in our backyard, and we sometimes go swimming. And that also we can talk to each other and express our feelings with each other.
All right. Awesome. Carter, you ready to lead us in the pledge?
Huh?
You ready to lead us in the pledge? Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic of which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice and clean.
You did a wonderful job. Supporting Corey Lynn and Carter tonight are their family members and school family. We ask you to please stand at this time and be recognized. The board appreciates the encouragement you've given these young people, and we thank you for bringing them to tonight's meeting. All right. The next item on tonight's school board agenda is our recognition. So, Dr. Parker, I believe we have some honored, distinguished celebrities in our midst.
Yes, sir.
I'm Michelle Price, the Director of Public Information in our Community Relations Office, and I have the pleasure of presenting this evening's School Board recognitions. Each year, the National School Board Association Magna Awards program recognizes school districts taking bold and innovative steps in educating students. The 2022 awards program focuses on equity in education and recognizes school district programs that remove barriers to achievement for students. This year, an independent panel of school board members, administrators, and other educators reviewed hundreds of submitted programs and selected the top for national recognition. We're proud to recognize that Newport News Public Schools earned a 2022 Silver Magna Award for TEAMS, the Tiered Emotional and Mental Health Supports Program. Newport News Public Schools established the TEAMS program in 2019. The program offers a continuum of social and emotional services to students, ranging from classroom lessons addressing social emotional learning to direct outpatient clinical mental health support. In addition to classroom teachers, school counselors, student support specialists, school social workers, and school psychologists are trained to recognize and address students' social emotional needs. This evening, we're proud to recognize the members who planned, launched, and carry out this program for our students. Please join us in recognizing our licensed mental health clinical therapists. Jamisha Davis. Ms. Davis, please come forward. Kelly Howard. Stephanie Leak. Lakeisha Malone. Kristen McAdams, who's unable to join us this evening. Christina Van. Jeffrey Williams. Those are our licensed mental health clinician therapists. We'd also like to congratulate our student support specialists, Kelly Baylor, who's unable to join us this evening, Katina Davis, Katrina Hines, Terry Kesey, who's unable to join us, Celestial Powell, and our school social workers, Maria Enriquez, and Emily LaFountain. We'd also like to recognize and acknowledge our student support supervisor, Linda Askew. And last but not least, the great leader of this team, the Executive Director of Student Advancement, Dr. Michelle Mitchell. We also want to acknowledge an important partner in this effort as we ensure the well-being and mental health of our students, and that's the Hampton Newport News Community Services Board. The Community Services Board has worked along with this dedicated team you see before you to provide after-hours and emergency crisis support for our students. Present this evening are Dr. Daphne Cunningham, Deputy Director of the Hampton Newport News Community Services Board. Dr. Cunningham. And Lisa Hogg, Director of Youth and Family Services. The team's approach removes barriers to mental health care by providing services at no cost to families. The program funds licensed clinical mental health therapists who serve in the school setting, allowing all students access to needed help. This is unique to Newport News Public Schools and unique around our region. We're the only school division in southeastern Virginia to have licensed therapists on staff and in a school setting. Employees serving in the TEAMS program are able to address a wide variety of mental health needs at an appropriate level before issues become acute. In addition to the TEAMS professionals, all building level employees in Newport News are trained in youth mental health awareness, a curriculum, equipping them to recognize mental health needs and refer students for assistance. The TEAMS program was formally recognized earlier this month at the National School Boards Conference in San Diego, California, where school board member John Ely accepted the award on behalf of the school division. TEAMS is also featured in this month's American School Board Journal. So again, congratulations on this well-deserved national recognition. Let's give them one more round of applause. Thank you very much. We're going to take a picture. I'm going to take it during the break. Okay. But if you would please stay for a few minutes. Okay. As they make their way back to their seats, I know there's a number of family and friends that have joined them tonight. Would you please stand or wave your hand to be recognized as well?
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate your support. Our next honorees have taken aim at glory. They've captured state titles in archery. The National Archery in Schools program was implemented in our schools over 7 years ago, and participation in the co-ed club sport has increased. Newport News was one of the first and larger school divisions to join the Virginia program, which is governed by the Department of Game and Inland Fisheries. And in just a few years, our district has become an archery powerhouse. At the state tournament, 4 Newport News teams finished in the top 4, and 6 individual archers finished in the top 10 statewide, earning 3 teams and the individual archers the opportunity to advance to the national tournament in Louisville, Kentucky next month. During the state tournament held last month in Doswell, the Rich Neck Elementary School team placed second at the state level and scored 2645, qualifying them for the national competition by exceeding the required score of 2500. Please join me in congratulating our archery champions from Rich Neck Elementary School. Our first honoree is Hadasha Bates. Please come forward. Lucas Benitez. Lucas, present. And AJ Bradshaw, who's also not present, I don't believe. Also like to acknowledge who's not present, Aria Gary. But joining us tonight, Diamond Gill Conklin, Damani Davis, Isabel Garcia, Bridget Kersey, and John Paul Kersey. Hero Kleinfeld. Donnell Lomax. Ella Mato. Madison Overman. Kara Richer. Penelope Short. Zoe Stanley. Hannah Sickles. Mira Tacky, Monte Telefero, Isabella Williams, and not present, Addison Williamson. And we like to recognize Coach Lindsay Sessions. You can stand right over here. Okay. And Lucas Benitez. Lucas. And we're going to get your certificate, Lucas. This is Lucas Benitez, Dr. Parker. And while we're getting that, I wanted to point out that while Rich Neck finished second overall in the elementary division as a team, 2 archers finished in the top 2 individually for the entire elementary division across the state. And that's Addison Williamson, who's unable to join us, and had a shot, let me get this right, Hadasha, right? Bates. Congratulations. Earned second place in the state with the second highest individual score for girls of 251. So congratulations. So we'd like to give one more, let's keep it going, one more round of applause for our Rich Neck Elementary School archers. Thank you. Can we turn back? We're going to ask you to stay a few minutes too for team pictures right after we finish recognitions, okay?
Okay.
Okay, all right. Families, we're going to just have them stay for a few minutes after we finish the recognitions to take a team picture. Okay. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
No, everyone can't see that, but they all have their shirts on with their names on the back. That's team spirit. Our next honorees are the BC Charles Elementary School archery team, and they earned 3rd place in the state and earned a score of 2,488. So here's the BC Charles Elementary Archery team, and we'd like to congratulate Caleb Ballantyne. Caleb, come here. Michaela Cartwright. Mason Harrington Chapman. And Christian Kulata, who was unable to join us this evening. Daniel Vallejo. This is Daniel? Okay. Congratulations, it's Daniel. Alexis Gwill. Nicholas Hart. Oh, I'm sorry. Mason Harrington Chapman. Thank you. Sorry about that. Nicholas Hart. Jaden Hill. Someone you've already met, Corey Lynn Ingram. Mackenzie Janke. Caleb Krishan. Carter Lee. Anna Leroy. CJ Martin. Kobe Maxey, Benjamin Patterson, Lucas Price, Ari Rayburn, Caitlin Chicatano, Benjamin Sleeth, Hayden Smalls, Abigail Taylor, Grace Telfar, Peyton Telfar, Isabella Wagner, Matthew Walter, Ryan Washington, Jaden Wildrout, and Alyssa Wright. And we'd like to recognize Coach Beneline Williams. Coach Williams. And assistant coaches Patrick Busby and Joshua Cerny. Congratulations. Now, I'd also like to point out that we have 3 individual archers for this team that qualified for national competition. And I wanted to say we really wanted to recognize the BC Charles team because they worked so hard this year and they were just this shy of getting enough points to head to national competition. So we want to congratulate all of you for working so hard this school year. We'd also like to acknowledge that Ryan Washington, Alyssa Wright, and Peyton Telfar, if you would just step forward, that's Ryan, Alyssa, and Peyton, they're going to national competition as individual archers. So we want to wish them well. So let's give one more round of applause for our winning BC Charles archery team. Congratulations. And I'm also going to ask you just to stay until we finish so we can get a group picture, okay? All right. Thank you. You can go on back to your seats. And congratulations. Yeah. Okay. Congratulations again. During the break. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good job. Good job.
Great job. Great job. So my parents want to take a picture after before taking it.
And families, again, if you would just stay for a few minutes till we conclude, we would like to take a group picture of all of our archery students. The Gildersleeve Middle School team placed 3rd in the state and qualified for the national tournament with a score of 3120, besting the minimum qualifying score of 3,000 for middle schools. So we'd also like to recognize and congratulate the Gildersleeve archery team. So congratulations go out to Kaylee Briggs. Carson Kulata is unable to join us. Adam Deducci. Hope I said that correctly. Leah Doyen. It's Leah. Congratulations. Ethan Ellis. Rose Fortin. Congratulations, Rose. Connor Gendron. Miles Graham. Camila Islas. Kyla Leggett. Melanie Mangus. Abigail Mayer. Jose McCauley. I think he's unable to join us. Dylan McKay. Elizabeth Ing. Aiden Powers. Samantha Salyers. Cecilia Sherman. And I think Catherine Skarupa was unable to join us. Congratulations. And Peyton Stotler, also unable. And I believe Stowe Sullivan was unable to join us as well. Leslie Turner is here. And Taylor Twitchell. Kendall Wilson. And two others that deserve recognition, Grayson Young and Brandy Tyler, who were unable to join us. And Coach Steve Kratacci. Did I say that right, Coach? Coach Steve. And again, this is our Gildersleeve archery team, and they are headed to nationals, and this will be their 9th trip to national competition. So let's congratulate the Gildersleeve Middle School archery team. Take group pictures, okay? Okay, congratulations. You guys can go back out and we'll see you shortly. Let me take your picture. Again, congratulations to Gildersleeve. It's always a good evening when we can recognize this many students for success. Our next honorees are from Menchville High School. Menchville High School's archery team placed 4th at the state level and earned a spot at the national tournament with a score of 3,243, exceeding the 3,100 minimum qualifying score. Please join us in congratulating Jaden Alexander, who I think isn't present, but congratulations. Sebastian Arsenault. Wesley Beasley. Ashton Briggs. And unable to join us, Ethan Herber. But with us is Caitlin Hollis. And also unable to join us, Nicholas Mazzola. Congratulations. Rachel Morgan. Kayla Osborne. Lily Ricklin. Eric Rooks. James Salyers. Caden Slaughter. Makila Sooth. And Cheyenne Stotler, who's unable to join us. Gabriel Taha. Haneen Taha. Unable to join us, Soterius Tofali. I hope I did that justice. Casey Twitchell. And Bryson Welch, who's unable to join us. Evan Williams. Charlie Wilson. And Coach Daniel Cerny. Coach. And also assistant coaches Patrick Buskey and Joshua Cerny. Thank you. And again, Minstrel is also a multi-year winning team, and so we'd like to congratulate them and wish them the best as they head to nationals next month. So again, congratulations to the Minstrel High team. Thank you. And I'd also like, we've had 4 teams in here and dozens of families and friends. So I'd like to acknowledge all the family members of all of our winning archery teams. If you would stand or raise your hand to be recognized. Thank you so much. And their administrators were here as well. Many of them are out in the hallway. We'd like to thank them for joining the students tonight. Thank you for coming. And again, congratulations to all of our winning archery teams. We wish them all the best, and they head to nationals next month. We're going to take a break now, about a 7 or 8 minute break, so that our honorees and their families can take those group pictures that we talked about. During this time, our viewing audience will have an opportunity to view this month's School Board Spotlight. So we'll stand in recess for about 7 or 8 minutes. Thank you.
The modern book as we know it hasn't changed much since it was invented in the 1400s. But in the last few decades, how we teach literacy has changed dramatically. Advanced teaching techniques, the use of technology, and evidence-based reading instruction has elevated the way students and educators interact with the written word. Newport News Public Schools is constantly implementing cutting-edge practices to increase reading success and foster a deeper joy of learning for all of our students. This goal starts at the preschool and elementary level by providing more resources for early learners to build strong foundational skills. To effectively teach literacy in the classroom, our educators receive up-to-date training to deepen their knowledge in literacy best practices. These practices expand to all content areas, allowing students to gain literacy skills while growing as well-rounded learners. Newport News Public Schools includes diverse and culturally represented reading material to connect more students to relatable learning experiences. And if some students are not able to reach these goals, strong communication with families, as well as a number of support programs, ensure all students receive the individualized attention they need for academic achievement. By building a strong foundation in literacy and language development at an early age, students will quickly grow into lifelong learners and ultimately become successful and contributing citizens. Newport News Public Schools is committed to literacy growth, to close achievement gaps, and increase access to relevant and challenging learning experiences for all students.
To celebrate Read Across America, second graders at McIntosh Elementary enjoyed a visit from a Newport News City leader. Second grade teacher Risharda Walston Johnson extended a kind invitation to Vice Mayor Sandra Cherry, who was delighted to spend a Friday morning with the entire second grade. A well-dressed student representative greeted Dr. Cherry when she arrived at McIntosh. The Vice Mayor kept students engaged as she read the story Be Kind, which focuses on a young student who tries to make a difference in her classroom through small acts of kindness. Afterwards, students surprised and flattered Vice Mayor Cherry by showering her with gifts that they personally made just for her. Together, McIntosh students and the Newport News Vice Mayor spent a morning bonding and sharing kindness through the power of reading. If you've tuned into social media recently, you may have noticed lots of surprised educators on your favorite school's online pages. This is when social media is at its best, honoring, celebrating, and spreading the good news about each school's Teacher of the Year and Support Staff of the Year. Through posted video clips and photos, you can sense the excitement and joy as educators and support staff are recognized for their hard work, dedication, and exemplary efforts to ensure all students succeed. Some school leaders surprise their honored staff members in the middle of class, at a school-wide pep rally, or through a pre-April Fool's joke so the entire school would gather for the surprise celebration. Support staff honorees include security officers, teaching assistants, cafeteria workers, nurses, library assistants, and technology support specialists. Each school's selected Teacher of the Year will be honored at a banquet in May, where one educator will be chosen as the division-wide Teacher of the Year to represent Newport News Public Schools at the state level. Congratulations to this year's honorees and to all of the great educators these staff members represent across Newport News.
As parents, we all have expectations and high hopes for our children. Whether they meet these standards or not, studies show us time and again that positive reinforcement is an effective tool in building up children's confidence and encouraging good behavior. Earning a good report card, showing improved effort in a certain class, or succeeding in a sporting activity deserves recognition. Finding creative ways to celebrate these achievements can be memorable for the whole family. One way to reward your child is letting them choose their favorite home-cooked meal, and then create a memorable experience by cooking the meal together. Reward your child by spending time together with a special day trip. Depending on their interests, enjoy a trip to the zoo, go to the movies, visit a museum or amusement park, or have a fun picnic at a local park. Time spent together is a reward for everyone. If your child helps out with chores around the house, give them a break from their chores for a few days. And always be vocal about your child's success. FaceTime with the grandparents to share the good news, and enthusiastically tell friends and family. Sure, it's easy to hand out cash for every A on a report card, but quality time spent together is an investment that pays off. Celebrate your children by creating memorable moments and meaningful family traditions.
At Stony Run Elementary, students were invited to a book tasting to sample some new, delicious reads. Stony Run made the most of a student half-day by hosting a school-wide book tasting to foster a joy of reading while encouraging students to explore different genres of books. At each grade level, teachers transformed their classrooms into diners with tablecloths and other decorations. In some classrooms, students made their literacy selections from printed or digital menus, while others browsed a buffet of reading treats. After students completed their dining experience, it was time to log their reviews. Students were able to rate the books they read and then share their thoughts and opinions with classmates to create meaningful conversations. The feedback was important to teachers by giving them valuable insights into what their students enjoyed reading. By tasting new flavors and styles of books, the students at Stony Run stimulated their literacy taste buds, hoping to go back for seconds.
We hope you enjoy this month's School Board Spotlight. And during our regular meetings, we provide time for the public to address the school board. These opportunities are scheduled in the early part of our agenda and also towards the end of the meeting. The school board recognizes that during the pandemic, some members of the public may not be able to join us in person. As advertised, citizens may submit comments via web form, email, or voicemail up until 30 minutes prior to our meeting to be included in the official meeting record. For those of you joining us in person, the board considers this an opportunity to listen to your comments and not respond at this time. Please understand that we will consider your concerns and get back to you at a later date. We ask that you comply with our 3-minute time limit. As you begin your comments, a green light will come on. A yellow light signals that you have 30 seconds remaining, and a red light and a beep indicates that your time is up. And as I call your name, please come forward. All right, the first card that I have is Pam Hall. All right. Then I'll move to my second card, which is Valerie Fashion.
Good evening, Dr. Parker and school board members. My name is Valerie Fashion, and I'm here tonight as an activist and advocate for my grandson and for the children attending Newport News Public Schools. I believe that education is a key component to personal and societal betterment. According to Malcolm X, education is the passport to the future for tomorrow, belongs to the people who prepares for it. The Newport News Public School environment, whether in the classroom, in the cafeteria, on the playground, and in the gym, is full of distractions by the students. Teachers spend a great deal of time dealing with the students' discipline problems on a daily basis. These distractions minimize daily instructions time. Over the last several years, the Newport News Public Schools has implemented a less rigorous curriculum that has resulted in the students being unprepared for the future. They're behind from 6 months to 2 years in the following subject areas. They're reading, the multiplication tables, understanding why they need an education. They don't respect adults. They don't respect each other inside of the classroom. They don't have creative skills. They don't know how to tell time on the clock. Some of them don't know how to write their last name. This is on the elementary level. And some of them don't know their last names right now. The math that's being used, they're behind in that. Spelling, they normally don't get spelling words sent home. However, they're getting a spelling achievement test. They're given a reading achievement test, and nothing goes home to the parents for them to enforce what they're learning in the school on a daily basis. The writing skills are bad. They don't respect authority. They don't know how to count their money. Our students are not being properly prepared to earn that passport to the future. It is extremely important that they master all these skills. The Eureka math that is being used in the school system calls for multiple steps in solving problems in all grade levels. The multiple steps in this math book problem, this curriculum, is confusing and time consuming for the student. They're having difficulty understanding the math. I'm even having difficulty understanding this math. There's no other math curriculum out there that compares to this program that the school system is using. The school system in Florida was using this program, and Florida is like behind us. However, they've gotten rid of the Eureka math. And it's not addition. Their addition way they do things is in groups. And they use what they call a number bond, which is very confusing. And I'm like for the board to implement an intervention program so that these students can become successful as an adult and contribute to their community and society. It is extremely difficult for teachers to teach these students when 1 or 2 students interrupt these classrooms every day. And it's a constant problem. Students are trying to learn in a hostile environment. That's what it looks like in these schools. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Fashion. I'm going to call Pam Hall one more time. All right. Madam Clerk, do we have any additional cards?
No, sir.
Are there any additional cards? There being none, then we will close item 2. And now we will move on to item 3. We thank you, the citizens, for your comments this evening. Item 3 is our consent agenda, which includes 3.01 minutes from the joint meeting with City Council March 1st, 2022, 3.02 minutes from the special meeting and work session on March 8th, 2022, 3.03 minutes from the public hearing on March 15th, 2022, 3.04 minutes from the work session on March 22nd, 2022, 3.05 minutes from the regular session on March 22nd, 2022, 3.06 financial reports, including the revenue report for March 2022, the expense report for March 2022, child nutrition reports for March 2022, 3.07 the personnel report, 3.08 revised 2021-22 school calendar, 3.09 budget transfer. At this time, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda for items 3.01 through 3.09?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Harris. Any discussion? Yes, Mr. Hunter.
We want to do that personnel separately.
We do have a personnel action. That's going to be a motion coming up. Thank you, Mr. Hunter. Any other further questions? All right, there being none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Searles Law?
For.
Mrs. Amon?
For.
Mr. Ely?
Four.
Mr. Harris?
Four.
Mr. Hunter?
Four.
Mr. Brown?
4.
Motion carries.
All right. So yes, Mr. Hunter, at this time, may I have a motion to approve the superintendent's personnel recommendation?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a motion to approve the superintendent's personnel recommendation for Dr. Crystal Haskins for Director of Equity, Assessment, and Strategic Operations.
All right, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter. Any further discussion? All right, there being none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Searles Law?
For.
Mrs. Amon?
For.
Mr. Ely?
Four.
Mr. Harris?
Four.
Mr. Hunter?
Four.
Mr. Brown?
4.
Motion carries.
All right. Dr. Parker, I believe you have some introductions of Dr. Haskins to give us.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. With honor, I'd like to introduce Dr. Crystal Haskins as the new Director of Equity, Assessment, and Strategic Operations. Dr. Haskins, would you please stand? Dr. Haskins has a doctorate degree in educational research and policy studies from Old Dominion University, a master's degree in education from Regent University, and her Bachelor of Arts in English from Christopher Newport University. Dr. Haskins is currently the principal in Williamsburg, James City County Public Schools, but she may look familiar to the board because she was previously a principal in Newport News Public Schools as late as 2019 as the principal of Ella Fitzgerald Middle School. Dr. Haskins has also worked as an assistant principal, data coordinator, student advancement coach, and teacher. Tonight we welcome Dr. Haskins back to the Newport News Public School family in this new role and look forward to her leadership. And Dr. Haskins, we give you an opportunity, one, to introduce yourself to the board, but also to introduce your family members or friends who've come with you this evening to support your appointment.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to serve Newport News again. I'm excited. I love the way Newport News smells, the way it operates. I'm excited to be back. And I have my village behind me. I have my parents, they're not my in-laws, my in-loves, my husband, of course. I have my 2 babies, but they're not babies anymore, Caden and Chase. I have my brother here. I have my cousin Lauren. You all might. Anyway, my cousin Lauren. I have my best friend, my sister Adrian Merritt, and I have my assistant principal with me, Aaron Burkhart.
Awesome.
And we travel as a pack. Lois, my godmother, who was an educator for 30 years. So.
Awesome. That's going to be a big meal coming up after this board meeting. I can tell you. Welcome, Dr. Haskins, and thank you all for coming to witness this appointment this evening. We really look forward to your leadership and rejoining our team and family. So thank you. And that concludes the appointments this evening, Mr. Board.
Thank you, Dr. Parker. Next on our agenda, we move to our action items. And our first action item is item 4.01, which is our special education annual plan. And Dr. Parker, do you have some comments for us before we vote?
The board entertained a presentation from Dr. Mitchell at the last board meeting, and her team stands at the ready for any questions that the board may have regarding that action item, Mr. Chairman.
All right. So thank you. And at this time, may I have a motion to approve the special education annual plan?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to approve the special education annual plan as presented.
All right, thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, seconded by Mr. Hunter. All right, any questions for Dr. Parker or Dr. Mitchell? I'll give this one moment. All right, there being no questions, then Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Oslaw,
4.
Mrs. Amon,
4.
Mr. Ely,
4.
Mr. Harris,
4.
Mr. Hunter,
4.
Mr. Brown.
4.
Motion carries.
All right, then now we are on to item 4.02, which is our new and revised policies. Dr. Parker, any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mrs. Brooks will come forward. I think there were some policies that are still in the works that, and she just wants to remind the board before entertaining a vote on what policies were pulled from that packet before the board engages with that content. Mrs.
Good
Brooks?
evening. Thank you, Dr. Parker, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Vice Chairman, members of the board. It's a pleasure to be here this afternoon once again regarding the new and revised policies and procedures for our instruction chapter. We did pull 2 policies from the original package that you received. The first is IHAL, which is teaching about religion, and that will be coming back to the policy committee for further discussion. And policy IIE, which we pull from the initial report on student schedules and course loads. When we reviewed this policy in the committee, there was an interest or a question about providing the opportunity for our students to advance through summer school. And so we realized that this required more study on our part, so we've pulled together or formed a committee primarily of our school counselors and other staff in our teaching and learning department to discuss that and research that and see if we can make that opportunity possible, and then we'll incorporate it into our policy.
All right. Thank you, Mrs. Brooks. Any questions at this time? Thank you. There being no questions, I'm going to take these in bunches. So first, IA, Instructional Goals and Learning Objectives, and IAA, Quality of Instructional Program. May I have a motion to approve IA and IAA?
Yes, make a motion to approve IA and IAA.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? There being no questions, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Oslaw,
4.
Miss Amon,
4.
Mr. Ely,
4.
Mr. Harris,
4.
Mr. Hunter,
4.
Mr. Brown.
4.
Motion carries.
All right. The next will be IC, which is School Year, School Day. May I have a motion to approve IC?
I have a motion to approve IC, School Year, School Day revised.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Harris. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Oslaw,
4.
Miss Amon,
4.
Mr. Ely,
4.
Mr. Harris,
4.
Mr. Hunter,
4.
Mr. Brown.
4.
Motion carries.
All right, the next set is IDA, Instructional Activities Beyond the Academic Day, and ID, Academic Day. So may I have a motion, please, to approve ID and IDA?
I have a motion to approve ID and IDA.
Is there a second?
4.
Or second by Mr. Harris?
Second.
Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Oslaw,
4.
Miss Amon,
4.
Mr. Ely,
4.
Mr. Harris,
4.
Mr. Hunter,
4.
Mr. Brown.
4.
Motion carries.
All right, the next batch is IHB, Instructional Programs for Exceptional Learners, IHBA, Special Education, Programs for Students with Disabilities, IHBB, Gifted Education, IHBF, Homebound Instruction, IHBG, Home Instruction, and IHBI, Early Childhood Education Programs. May I have a motion to approve IHB, IHBA, IHBB, IHBF, IHBG, and IHBI?
Yes, I make a motion to approve IHB, IHBA, IHBB, IHBF, IHBG, and IHBI.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Harris. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Oslaw,
4.
Miss Amon,
4.
Mr. Ely,
4.
Mr. Harris,
4.
Mr. Hunter,
4.
Mr. Brown.
4.
Motion carries.
All right. Next set is IHCC, International Baccalaureate Program, and IHCD, Advanced Placement. May I have a motion to approve IHCC and IHCD?
I have a motion to approve IHCC and IHCD.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Harris. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Searles Law,
4.
Miss Amon,
4.
Mr. Ely,
4.
Mr. Harris,
4.
Mr. Hunter,
4.
Mr. Brown.
4.
Motion carries.
All right. The next item is IHD, Adult Community Education. May I have a motion to approve item IHD?
Yes, I make a motion to approve IHD.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Searles Law,
4.
Miss Amon,
4.
Mr. Ely,
4.
Mr. Harris,
4.
Mr. Hunter,
4.
Mr. Brown.
4.
Motion carries.
All right. The next item is IIA, Grouping for Instruction. May I have a motion to approve IIA, Grouping for Instruction?
Yes, I make a motion to approve IAA, Grouping for Instruction Revised.
Or IIA?
IIA. Got it.
Thank you. Is there a second for the motion of IIA?
Hey, could you repeat that, Mr. Chairman?
Yes. The motion is for IIA,
Okay.
Grouping for Instruction.
Second.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Harris. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Searles Law,
4.
Miss Amon,
4.
Mr. Ely,
4.
Mr. Harris,
4.
Mr. Hunter,
4.
Mr. Brown.
4.
Motion carries.
All right. The next is IJNA, Instructional Assistance. I have a motion to approve IJNA.
Yes, I have a motion to approve IJNA.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Harris. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Searles Law,
4.
Miss Amon,
4.
Mr. Ely,
4.
Mr. Harris,
4.
Mr. Hunter,
4.
Mr. Brown.
4.
Motion carries.
All right. The next two are IJOA, Field Trips, Off-Campus Travel, and IJOC, School Volunteers. May I have a motion to approve IJOA and IJOC?
A motion to approve IJOA and IJOC.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Harris. Any discussion? All right. Please call the roll.
Ms. Searles Law,
4.
Miss Amon,
4.
Mr. Ely,
4.
Mr. Harris,
4.
Mr. Hunter,
4.
Mr. Brown.
4.
Motion carries.
All right. Next item is IK, Academic Achievement. May I have a motion to approve IK?
I have a motion to approve IK, Academic Achievement.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Harris. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Searles Law,
4.
Miss Amon,
4.
Mr. Ely,
4.
Mr. Harris,
4.
Mr. Hunter,
4.
Mr. Brown.
4.
Motion carries.
All right. Next is IKE, Promotion, Retention, and Acceleration of Students. We have a motion to approve item IKE.
Yes, I have a motion to approve IKE, Promotion, Retention, and Acceleration of Students.
All right. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Second by Mr. Harris. Any questions? There being none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Searles Law,
4.
Miss Amon,
4.
Mr. Ely,
4.
Mr. Harris,
4.
Mr. Hunter,
4.
Mr. Brown.
Against.
Okay. Motion carries 5-1.
Next item is IL, Evaluation of New and Existing Instructional Programs. May I have a motion to approve item IL?
I have a motion to approve IL, Evaluation of New and Existing Instructional Programs.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Harris. Any questions? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mrs. Searles Law,
4.
Mrs. Amon,
4.
Mr. Ely,
4.
Mr. Harris,
4.
Mr. Hunter,
4.
Mr. Brown.
4.
Motion carries.
Last item is item JCLD, Administering Medications to Students. May I have a motion to approve item JCLD?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have a motion for...
Hey, excuse me.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I think this. Could you read that again?
JCLD, Administering Medications to Students.
Okay.
Is the last item in our packet.
Yeah, there were 2 of the same in our packet.
But I think is it JL?
JL.
Oh, I'm sorry,
It says JL.
you were correct. It is JLCD.
JLCD.
All right. Thank you.
That's why I wear these right
Thank you, man. Thank you, Mr. Harris. All right. Let's try that one more time. May I have a motion to approve item JLCD, Administering Medications to Students?
Yes, I have a motion to to approve JLCD, administering medications to students, revised.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Harris. Any discussion? All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Oslaw.
4.
Ms. Amon.
4.
Mr. Ely.
4.
Mr. Harris.
4.
Mr. Hunter.
4.
Mr. Brown.
Against.
Okay, motion carries 5-1.
All right. And now we'll move on to section 5, which is our reports and information. And the first item is 5.01, our monthly school update. Dr. Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Because we met on one portion of the monthly school update during work session, this is a string. We have some smaller items on the monthly update that we will have our staff report on. So I will turn that over to teaching and learning to kick us off, and then we'll move on with the follow-up items on that report.
Good evening, Chairman Brown, Vice Chair Soslaw, members of the board, Dr. Parker. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. I have 2 quick updates for you, and then I will let our school leadership team take it over for graduation updates. The first thing that I want to go over today is just our character book club. We're really excited about this book club. Our team has been working really hard on it. It's been a vision since the beginning of the year. We worked through procurement in order to find books. This was under the direction and vision of our elementary director, Lori Wall, and her team worked in partnership with our school psychologist. What this program does is it puts a book in the hands of every single K through 2 student in our division. And each month, a family will receive a new book. And with that new book comes a QR code that contains activities. The activities are aligned not only with literacy, but they're aligned with social emotional wellness and building character among our students. Activities are set up for morning, and this is my favorite part because our parents are very, very busy. And so it really meets the needs of our parents and when they're available to work with their students. Our parents can choose to work with them during morning time, during card time, during meal time, and at nighttime. And of course, they can do all 4 if they have the opportunity, or they can just do card time because that's their busy day and their schedule. If we click on the 2nd grade March example, I just want to show you the richness of the activities that are provided to our families. We just scroll down, there's a letter that goes home. The letter is everything is in Spanish as well. And as you scroll, you can see that this is a 2nd grade example. This is March, and you can see there are before, during, and after reading examples of how you can work with your child. And then as you scroll down further, you see morning time. What's the word of the day? Pick out the word of the day and do a sound chain at cart time. And if you go a little further, when you're sitting there eating with your family, you can go over an example question. Would you rather be a pilot or a detective? And it aligns with the book that they're reading in 2nd grade. And then of course there's a nighttime activity as well. And as you and that aligns with literacy. And as you scroll down, there are also social emotional spotlights for our parents to work with our students in helping them with self-regulation. And every month there's some sort of social emotional spotlight that book focuses on. And the same thing. You see the morning time, you see the card time, and meal time and nighttime. So we're really excited to launch this. This will run through August. If you go to the slides next, we plan to run this program all next year as well for all of our K through 2 students to continue on this great activity. No, you're fine. And just to see what we sent home with our families and how in-depth and organized this is. In April, we focused on self-regulation, and that was the book. And then in May, how to treat others. In June is self-esteem, and August is back to school, worry and fear. So this goes all throughout June and then picks up again in the fall. And we'll have a new schedule for our families on the website so they can work with their children, not only to encourage literacy, but also to encourage that social emotional building of character. The next thing we want to talk about is a really exciting opportunity for our students in grades 6 through 12. We have an online platform for our students to receive subject matter support from content experts from qualified tutors through Feb Tutors. It is live one-on-one support as a student's working in their Canvas platform or as they're on their Chromebook doing homework. They can easily log into Clever, click on a school app, and get immediate support from a tutor. So whether it's homework support or they need help studying for a classroom assessment, or maybe it's a division assessment, or it even can be an SOL, they have that available at their fingertips. And as you can see, it's 7 days a week through the times that our students would be or need someone to support them. Just 2 ways that they can access this. So a student who's struggling with homework, they can just go into Clever, they log in to the portal with a single click, they get into the Feb Tutor app, and they can do on-demand support. So they don't have to plan at all. So they can be struggling with a math problem, they click for a tutor, and that tutor has a whiteboard right there. We know our students are shy with the camera, and so it's chat-based. There are no cameras involved in this, and if a student chooses to, they can turn on their microphone and have a conversation with the tutor. There are also self-scheduled sessions, which I really appreciate as well. So if I know I have a test coming up on Monday and I need some help on Sunday, I can schedule for a time that's available for me and my family, and I can get one-on-one support. So letters went home to families. We sent out a communication message as well, and messages went out to our school principals so they can communicate with teachers, and every teacher will receive that message and then walk their students through how to access this tutoring program. So that concludes my updates for this month, and I will, yes, questions?
Just one question. Where on the website might someone access this information if they, remember getting a note on it and don't know where that note is? Is there a place on the Newport News Public School website that they could access it?
There will be.
Okay.
Right now it's in Canvas, and we have it obviously in the Clever portal. So the Clever portal is just where they log in, and that's where they get all of their stuff for school, and the portal's right there. But we will certainly add that to our website for families who would like information and to be reminded. So thank you.
Great, thank you.
Other questions? Yes, Ms. Ammon.
And can we do some sort of announcement or something through Parent View? I'm just thinking some parents may not go to the website, and they may not be on Clever, depending on how autonomous their students are.
Absolutely.
Or an email or something.
Yeah, we were going to send the email, then we were also going to communicate through the phone message.
Okay.
But we can certainly put something on Parent View too that's easy. We can put the same message, so we can reach everyone.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Great resource. And again, our teachers are going to reiterate with students, so all students should know that this is available to them. And we continue to do this all next year as well. We're going to test it out, see how it goes, and maybe even expand it through grades 3 through 5 next year. And so we're just kind of in the testing phase right now.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Questions? All right, then we'll move on to 5.
We actually have graduation information.
Oh, graduation.
School leadership.
Okay.
Graduation.
Good evening, Chairman Brown, Madam Vice Chair Searles Law, school board members, and Dr. Parker. I am Dr. Felicia Barnett, Executive Director of Secondary School Leadership.
And I'm Dr. Eleanor Blow, Director of Secondary School Leadership.
This year, we are returning to the Hampton Coliseum and Ferguson Center for our graduation ceremonies. Our ceremonies will take place on June 9th through 12th, as listed in the graphic shown.
Each graduate will receive 10 tickets, and tickets are required for admittance to graduation. Each high school will communicate information about senior activities and details regarding their graduation program. If families have questions regarding graduation and the ceremonies, they may contact their school administration or visit the Newport News Public Schools graduation website for more details and information. Are there any questions?
We're excited.
Yeah.
Okay. To see you.
Good. Be good to get things back to normal, back to the Coliseum.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes item.
That concludes the school update, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you. Then we'll move on to 5.02, which is our Achievable Dream Annual Update.
Achievable Dreams.
All right, good evening, everyone, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share a little bit about An Achievable Dream. I am Purvis Blake. I'm the Vice President of Academics and Chief Operating Officer for An Achievable Dream. And before I get started, I definitely want to recognize a few people that are here in spirit. Our President and CEO, Dr. Lee Reeland, our two rock star principals, Ms. Tara Harris, who is our principal of the Academy, and Ms. Courtney Monpoint is our middle and high school principal, who are here in spirit. And everything that I will share with you today is because of their leadership and our staff, our Inc. staff, our teachers and staff that give their all to our students every single day. And so we want to talk a little bit today for our update about dreaming and achieving in 21-22. And so the foundation of Achievable Dream, as you can see here, our mission, vision, and our core values. This is really for us, our foundation of where we are. And I won't read everything to you, as I know it's been a long day. And so I would kind of breeze through this for you as well, not to hold you up, but also just to share our mission, vision, and our core values as well. And so, you know, at An Achievable Dream, it is our mission to develop independent, productive citizens through a social, academic, and moral education. And we refer to that as SAME, S-A-M-E. And you will see that replayed a few times throughout this presentation. We get asked the question a lot, is why? Why do you do those things? You know, we'll talk about extended day, we'll talk about our year-round status and some of those things. And if you look at that picture, that's the sole reason. That student right there is our why. That is why we do what we do at Achievable Dream in partnership with Newport News Public Schools. Our core values is what guides us. Our belief that every student can learn equity, bringing equity through education to those, to our students and our dreamers. Whatever it takes mindset, partnerships are major. We'll talk about that a little bit as well. We are really considered the neighborhood school with all of the partnerships that we have. Relationships, continuous improvement, systemic impact, and organizational integrity. So again, as I mentioned before, SAME, S-A-M-E, social, academic, and moral education. We start our day with our daily handshakes. We used to. Now we still have our greetings. So our students come into the building, we greet them one by one as they enter the building. Good morning, how are you? And so forth. We're looking at them, we're hoping that they're having a great morning so far. And if they are not, we have the opportunity to talk to them, pull them to the side, and make sure that we get them ready for an amazing day. We still have the morning program, where every single morning they come in and they'll recite banners that we will talk about as well. Positive affirmations to start their day off, to get ready and excited for learning as well. And you can see some of the other things that we have. Community, the military, law enforcement, corporate partnerships are major for us. To start those connections, even at the third grade or kindergarten level, for our students, so they're beginning to see people in uniform and making those connections to the workforce as well. Extensive field trips and clubs is major for us. And here you just see a few pictures of this is our morning, you know, coming into us. We have partnerships with Fort Eustis, and so their soldiers hopefully will be back soon to greet our students in the morning, as well as Newport News Sheriff's Department, Police Department as well. That greet our students when they come in the building. So they're seeing and they're making the connections with those people in uniform as well. Here are just a few of the banners. This is a little bit about our morning program. You'll see some of the students there, and every single morning this is one thing that they're doing. And they have 17 banners that they will recite every single day, so loud that they blow the roof off the building. Sorry about the construction costs on that. It's just what we do. So, proud to be drug-free, be cool, stay in school. All of those things, if they recite it every single day, they begin to believe it. It starts to become a part of them, and it is the doctrine and the culture that we do. Yes, in An Achievable Dream, we do believe that you have to be intentional on developing the culture, and that's what we do first. We always say there's one thing that rings true, and no matter where you are, no matter what school you are in, there will always be a culture. So if you develop the culture, it will become what you want it to be. If you don't, it will still become a culture, but possibly not what you will like for it to be at the time. And so that's why we always indoctrinate and implement things such as this. We also have social rotations as well. And this is really the character education part of our program, right? We have the academic part, and this is the character education part. So you see there we have pull out classes every single day as well. Ethics and conflict resolution, doing the right thing when no one is looking as well. Even these begin in the 3rd grade and go all the way through 12th grade. STEM, of course, mindfulness and meditation. We have a certified yoga instructor. And that picture there you see is at our middle and high school. That's one of our yoga social rotations class. I did that one day and they had to wake me up. So, but it was great. It was great. And I could take some Tylenol too. So, but we're good with that. Speaking Green is really just being able to code switch. And so we understand that our students, when they're on the basketball court, they'll speak a certain way. But when they come in front of you all for an interview, or when they're interacting with you, there is a certain way that we would like for them to speak business language as well. And so that's what Speaking Green is about, and etiquette. Again, starting in the 3rd grade, etiquette really is, we start off at the elementary level learning the formal dining settings with place settings and all of those things. And then we transition into electronic etiquette, Zoom etiquette, public etiquette. How do you act at the basketball game, at the football game? And all of those things we incorporate as well. And we give them opportunities to practice those things through field trips, as we'll talk about. So, at an Achievable Dream, we believe, and this really is the first 2 sentences here, sets us up to what we really believe. And so we are so much more than a K-12 program. It is our belief that we do not want to exist just in the 4 walls on the street, in the district, and not impact the outside community as well. So it is our mission to make sure that we are part of the community and impact those things. And so we developed 2 programs called Cradle to the Grave. And so the first aspect that we'll talk about is the Littlest Dreamers. That's our cradle part. I say cradle to the grave, cradle to college. Although they are with us forever, so it could be that. But cradle to college, cradle to the grave, I think that's actually a movie. So cradle to college, and so the college aspect of it is our Dream to Career portal that we have as well. So let's talk a little bit about Littlest Dreamers. Littlest Dreamers for expectant parents all the way up to age 3. And we come together and we teach things like early childhood literacy, effective discipline strategies that we teach for our parents as well. We also talk about financial literacy at that time in those courses. We talk about health and safety for that age group and the pathways to education. And so how do you even now at that age begin to get a Virginia 529? And some of those saving plans now, and we show how if you start early, the chances of you having a better program, a better result by the time your student gets to college. And so it really opens up the parents' eyes and the light bulb. You see them start to blink, say, okay, maybe I should start this now. Every year you wait, it's a little bit more you have to put in or a little less that you would get. This was offered virtually. We still did that virtually, and that is for anyone, not just those that are affiliated with Achievable Dream. We've had parents from Newport News, Virginia Beach, from Henrico County, and we had family in one session as far as Florida. And so we're excited about our Littlest Dreamers program. Now, Dream to Career, this is our college portal, and we have full-time staff at Achievable Dream that work specifically with our college students and our alumni. So we can tell you we have a little over 900 since our first graduating class in 2001. We have a little over 900 alumni, and we can tell you about what 95 to 96% of them are doing because we still keep in contact with those students. Our Dream to Career portal is for our alumni and our college students to go to, and it's connections with our corporate partners where they will post like job openings and positions and so forth that our dreamers can specifically apply to as well. Here's just a little bit of our program results, not to toot our own horn, but we have a 100% on-time graduation rate. And what I really want to emphasize here is this is an Achievable Dreams result, but it's not possible without you all. And so this is without the partnership with Newport News Public Schools and yourselves. And so this is something that we claim as all of us as the family, our program results. 100% on-time graduation rate. Our schools are fully accredited, and we always tell our students and our dreamers, you are going to do something. So you're either going to go to college, you're going to go to a trade force, or workforce, or the military, but you are going to do something. And so we are very proud of our dreamers. One of the major topics, again, and I will say about our community impact is for social justice. And we have developed a task force in 2020 of community leaders and organizations so that we can do our part as a school and as an organization to make sure, again, the world is a little bit better for our dreamers and for our students as well. So this is where we developed our Dreamers for Change Task Force. We have monthly meetings, now bi-monthly, every other month we meet to talk about different things that we need to talk about, or pressing issues, community-wide, organization-wide, so that we are helping and assisting each other in that stance. All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about our return to learn this year, and return to safely as well. And so, as you all already know, our students were excited to get back, but of course there was a little bit of nervousness as well moving forward. One thing, again, with us and our relationship, we connected with our families, and we still consider it a year-round school because we had them in the summer where we start our summer intersession as well. And so, just to put it in perspective, we are color-coded uniforms, kindergarten through 8th grade. Our maroon uniforms are our 2nd graders. And so, these students that you are seeing right there, many of them are really now, in September, were returning or coming to the classroom in a full-scale setting for the very first time. And so again, it goes back to coaching. So before we can even teach them A, B, C, D, and those things, we had to talk about how do we now just adjust back to the classroom and sitting in the classroom and so forth, and what does that look like? And so we credit that to our relationships through and through, how that was an easy transition for us. So one of the greatest parts of our partnership with Newport News Public Schools is that they lay the foundation for an amazing instructional practice in our school systems. We're able to come in and also implement that through our extended day and our Saturday school programs. And you see just a few things that are supported through with Newport News that we support with, as far as the literacy labs and the PALS assistants, university tutors, and so forth, that we are working in partnership with as well. Again, Saturday school sessions is not every Saturday, and it's teacher recommendation, but it is small group instruction. The kids absolutely love it because they're not in uniform or dress code. So they love coming to Saturday school. It's normally from 9 to 12. And it really is hands-on learning, and we're able to now do different styles and hands-on type of activities for them to make the connection to learning. Here's at our academy. Again, at Achievable Dream, we love putting things on steroids. No, I'm not talking about our student athletes. I'm talking about educational programming. And so the Flying Classroom, again, was an initiative through Newport News Public Schools. We were able to take that now and use the theme for our Saturday school of Let Your Dreams Take Flight. And we were able, again, to use the STEM kits and the kits that were provided for the Flying Classroom, again, just to enhance our Saturday school academics. Our attendance, as all schools did in the nation, struggled in the beginning because of, I don't need to say it, but COVID and so forth. But we are glad that we're now back up to maintaining a 94% through it all. We are there, and we are just excited to see our dreamers in person, getting them there at school, and they are excited to be there. All right, here is, if you were to ask me, what is on your top list that excited you this year? The first thing, of course, will be seeing my dreamers, right? Back in person. The second thing would definitely be field trips. Field trips are major for us because it's the exposure piece. When they put their eyes on it and their hands on it and they can see those things, it just brings a different experience and it really connects to learning. And so when we got that email from you, Dr. Parker, that gave us the green light to take field trips, I texted Dr. Reeland and I said, I am about to blow our field trip button. I told her, I'm about to do it. She laughed at me and she said, I would expect nothing less. And just because in Newport News, between our two campuses, we go over 100 field trips for our students and they don't pay a dime for anything. Just because, again, it really just makes the connection for our students to see those things. We just had a group of our high school students to come back from Washington, D.C., and they had an amazing time. Again, our community partners, we have a job and workforce readiness program called What It Takes. And so we have 7 business partners and corporations that come in once a week to teach soft skills. And so they are really now saying things and making the connection with our students far as how does being in the correct uniform and the correct dress code now transition over to being in the correct uniform and dress code at work or on the career in your job? How does being on time for class or school transition over to being in time for the workplace? And so all of those connections that we are bringing those business partners in, number one, to expose our students to those. But when they say it, it's like they never heard it before. We say it all day long. They never hear us. But when someone else says it, and then they're like, oh, okay, I get it now. And so those connections are major for us. We have partnered, and we are part of the Southeast Community Coalition, which is a great program in partnership with Newport News Public Schools, Dr. Parker, Pastor Kevin Swan, and so forth, other members, to do safe space events. And the idea behind this is, again, to open up places and give students a place that they can have fun, they can come to feel safe, and be a student or be a kid. And so we've held a couple of successful events the past few months. This upcoming Saturday is our time at Achievable Dream. And so what you see here is our Spring-a-Palooza that we're having at Achievable Dream this upcoming Saturday from 1 to 4. There's going to be tie-dyeing. Yes, that is coming back. I'm going to make me a shirt. They have music production, and so they can learn to make their own music. They're going to have gaming. We are going to have gaming buses, arts, face painting. We'll have food and all of those things, and people that are volunteering and donating items and so forth, again, to make this a successful event. And so the deadline is coming up, so if you have not registered or know someone that would like to register for that event, please encourage them to do so. All right, our CNU community captains, I know you are all aware of, and we're going to talk specifically about our partnership with Newport News and Christopher Newport with our community captains as well. We now have, and I'll go to the next slide, 4 students that are now on campus. And again, we have full-time staff that work with our alumni at every single campus. But we check in with our community captains at Christopher Newport monthly. We take them out to eat, learn how they're doing, see how they're doing, and so forth. We have 4 there now that's on campus. We have 10 senior students, Dreamers, that are members of the second cohort. Awesome. We have 7 juniors that were selected in fall of 2021 to become members of the third cohort. And we have now 4 that are interviewing to be potential members of the fourth cohort. So we are definitely excited about our community captain program. All right, here's my babies. Here's my babies. This is our graduating class. And I know I shouldn't say babies. They tell me all the time, Mr. Blake, you know, we're grown now, so to say. But we have 49 seniors. And one of the great parts about an Achievable Dream, again, is we see these students, many from kindergarten, but our official program starts at 3rd grade. So from 3rd grade on. And so we see these students grow. We experience all of the pain with them. We experience all of the happiness and the joy with them. And we are a family, first and foremost. And so when we see them walk across the stage, it is like our own children, as it is for everyone in education. But it's just, we like the idea that we see them every single step of the way, from pre-K to elementary to middle to high to college, and then to become gainfully employed. And there are just a few statistics of our dreamers. So final thoughts, you know, this summer marks 30 years that we've been in Newport News. And this partnership has grown, and I believe every year by year, that we are growing stronger as a family and as a partnership. We are expanding. You know, we now have 2 schools in Virginia Beach, K-9 there, and 2 schools in Henrico County, where we are K-6 adding a grade level every year, and some other expansions. Talks, but Newport News is our home, and we just brought 17 teachers from Virginia Beach to our Newport News campus to see our flagship. They were absolutely blown away. Even though they work with us in the Achievable Dream in Virginia Beach, they were absolutely just blown away. And so I want to finish the same way that I started. When you look at those pictures there, it's because of the work that we are doing for those little eyes there that are looking up to us, to what we are doing, how we act. And it's because of those little ears there that are listening to us, to what we are doing for them. And the most important part of those faces are really those smiles. And the work that we do, and at Achievable Dream, I always say we have work to do. We know there's not easy work, but we are in the position that we are in to make the world, hopefully, a better place for us, for them, than maybe it has been for us. And so I again, like to end the same way that I started, at the why we do what we do in partnership with Newport News Public Schools. It's because of those students right there. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ely. Yes.
I just want to say thank you for that amazing presentation. Achieve a Dream has always been cutting edge. I remember growing up when the program first started, the first year, I begged my guidance counselor to be in get selected to Achieve a Dream. She said, "No, I'm gonna put you in Avid." And ever since then, I just watched how the Dreamers conducted themselves, and even to this day, knowing some of the Dreamers, they're definitely their program set them up for success. And it's just the work that Achieve a Dream is doing with you and Lee, Dr. Reedland, is just amazing. Y'all don't stay inside the school. Y'all go outside the school as well. And even when the kids go to college, y'all are still there with them, making sure they are successful, as well as connecting them with opportunities after they graduate. So y'all leadership and y'all format and y'all partnership with Newport News has definitely been a blessing, not to only us, but the citizens of Newport News. So thank you once again for all the hard work you do and much success with brandishing our program throughout the United States. Y'all doing a very good job.
I appreciate
so thank you.
that. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other comments, questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Then we are now on to item 5.03, which is our Virtual Learning Academy update.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. And we will have our principal, Chris Smith, come forward to bring greetings and an update on the Virtual Learning Academy.
I'm going to start by using a Mr. Hunter quote. There are great things happening in Newport News Public Schools. Good evening, Dr. Parker, School Board Chairman Brown, and distinguished school board members. My name is Chris Smith, and I am the proud principal of the Virtual Learning Academy at Point Option. I'm excited to share the work of the Virtual Learning Academy with you this evening and the progress we have made during our first year. It is through the collaboration of the VLA team, which includes Assistant Principal, Mrs. Karen Bazemore-Person, who's in the back, Virtual Learning Specialist, Mrs. Stephanie Bean, our Professional Counselor, Ms. Melissa Spees, Mrs. Billy Hart, who is our Supervisor of Instructional Technology, as well as our support from our Chief Academic Officer, Dr. Mang Lamont. It is through them, my wonderful team, and a great vision, a great staff, and a wonderful ensemble of teachers that have achieved such success with this new program, and we are expanding next year. The Virtual Learning Academy partnered with Point Option this year to share staff and resources in order to offer innovative academic programs to both sets of students. We have students from all 5 NNPS high schools enrolled at Point Option and the Virtual Learning Academy. We pride ourselves on supporting students with both personalized and flexible learning opportunities grade 9 through 12. We offered a variety of courses in all disciplines, even offering honors courses this year. And again, next year, we are expanding to include middle school courses and advanced placement courses. We offered a variety of electives, as you can see, but are providing more choices for students next year. The first year of the Virtual Learning Academy was supported by a team of educators that consisted of 2 administrators, 1 virtual learning specialist, 1 school counselor, 7 full-time teachers that are based out of Point Option, as well as we had 32 part-time VLA teachers. Now, these part-time teachers worked in a traditional school, both middle school and high school, full-time, and picked up 1 VLA course as an extra class. Although the majority of those 32 teachers were NNPS teachers, we had 1 teacher from the York County School Division and 2 from WJCC on our faculty this year to assist in filling the open positions. Here you can see the breakdown of our current full-time VLA staff and the subjects they teach. We are excited to change this model for next year to better support student success. We had our first open house last August, and we plan to continue hosting an in-person open house at the start of this school year. This will assist us in developing relationships with students and families immediately. This event last year was well attended and well received by the VLA community, as you see the picture shown there. It was an exciting day. It was very hot, but it was a very exciting day. One of the main reasons the Virtual Learning Academy has been successful this year is because of the specialized supports we have in place. We have a VLA student support course that is used by students and parent guardian observers regularly. We post weekly announcements for our VLA students in the course, and they can also find information on student activities, career and college opportunities, school counseling services, and other academic resources. Students are supported with town hall Zoom meetings, webinars, weekly phone and email communication, as well as our monthly VLA newsletter. In-person opportunities are also available to our VLA students on an optional as needed basis. Students can attend in-person student support day every Wednesday at Point Option. They can meet with our counselor, Ms. Spees, and participate in clubs on site. All of these supports work together to support students' academic success and overall well-being. Now, this is our why. Every VLA student has a unique story as to why they would select this virtual learning experience and join our program from the very start. Maurice, as you see in this slide, chose the VLA to be able to participate in a competitive internship. Maurice is learning to be a chef. He has also been highlighted on an HBO special displaying his culinary skills. Maurice travels to Virginia Beach weekly as he is learning the agriculture and learning the attributes of farm to table. I can't do this. Micah chose the VLA to be able to train as a competitive gymnast at the national level. Micah is able to train at her gym at 6:00 a.m. in the morning, fulfilling her goal of being an aspiring Olympic gymnast, and at 12:00 p.m. she is able to break for lunch and then work on her academic studies. Flexible learning at its best. Because our students do not have a set daily schedule. We have several students participating in clubs at the VLA, such as esports, yearbook, a wellness club, and several others. Students are also able to participate at their home school for athletics. Jaquay chose the VLA for his senior year and loves being able to still participate in athletics at his home school. We are so proud of all of our VLA students and hope to spotlight even more in the future. There were also families in which we were able to assist due to vulnerable family members' exposure to illness. This was a much needed option for these parents. Please, I just showed a short snippet of a highlight of our students, but please go to our full promotional video of all of our student success on our website. I know it's been a long evening, so thank you. Next year, the Virtual Learning Academy is growing to include grades 6 through 12. I am most excited to share with you all of our plans for growth and expansion next year. When collecting intent to return data from our current VLA 9 through 11th graders, 96% of our students are returning. They are experiencing success and are satisfied with the VLA program. 1/3 of our VLA students made the honor roll for the quarter. With our expansion into middle school, the VLA will be available to 6th through 12th grade students next year. We plan to hire 30 full-time virtual teachers. Some of these teachers are already teaching in our program. This includes 22 middle and high school teachers, 2 6th grade teachers to focus on the transition to secondary, virtual learning, and we will include 6 elementary teachers as we plan to offer a elementary virtual option as a small pilot program for students with specific medical, emotional, or behavioral needs. We will prepare a program that is best fit for elementary students learning in an online environment. I also want to note the critical importance of having a building facility that can house the entire Virtual Learning Academy with our huge expansion. One of the most unique aspects of our virtual program, unlike any other in the local area, is the weekly in-person student support sessions we offer. Students in all grade levels need to have the option to come in person to work with a teacher or a small group of students to master a challenging skill, complete an engaging science activity, pick up art supplies, or participate in a club. It is also important for the required SOL testing, CTE testing, and elementary testing that we will have a facility that can accommodate all of our in-person assessments. We want to continue to strengthen our VLA community through in-person interactions. Because of these in-person activities, the instructional staff at the Virtual Learning Academy will operate on a 50-50 concept. The 50-50 concept is 50% in-person on-site for support, and then 50% they will be working remotely from the school. We started accepting applications for next school year in December. We received 603 applications for the VLA this school year, and we have already accepted 387. All have been notified of their acceptance, and we currently have a waiting list. We are thrilled at the rate of our growing program. We are near capacity as we speak. This is truly thrilling as the Virtual Learning Academy is at its best. The Virtual Learning Academy, not to be confused, is not pandemic learning. Giving students power and control to shape their own learning helps them feel as though we are truly meeting their needs. And you can see through the graph there, those are the number of students that we have accepted so far through the grade levels. 49 years ago, Mary Passage had a vision of a place for all students to learn and be successful. She felt that all students were not successful in a traditional high school. Students that did not fit the mold of the traditional high school model needed a place where they could pursue their goals and be successful. Point Option has served the NNPS community since 1973 and continues today to foster personal and academic growth in a non-traditional setting, utilizing a small supportive environment. Although she did not experience virtual learning for herself, I believe Ms. Mary Passage would have supported the vision of the VLA in addition to Point Option. Both programs service students with unique needs and combined together can be viewed as the innovative institute where all students can find a path to success. I wish I had a drum roll. So I2, thank you very much. I2 is the Innovation Institute, which will be the school like no other in the Commonwealth, because we will house the Virtual Learning Academy for grades K through 12 while serving our Point Option student population. 2 schools, 1 roof. Students and teachers will share this facility with flexible learning labs, giving students power and control, a true voice and choice. I2, the Innovation Institute of NNPS. We hope you like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter in order to share in our success as the program continues to grow. Thank you very much for your time this evening. I hope to see you next school year as you visit the Innovative Institute housing Point Option and the Virtual Learning Academy.
Right. Thank you. All right. Any questions on the board? All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
We will now move on to 5.04, which is the attendance report. 5.05, the membership report. 5.06, construction report. Board members, you have received copies of these reports. Are there any questions at this time? Hearing none, then we'll move on to 5.07, which are comments by the superintendent, Dr. Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Earlier today, Congressman Bobby Scott and his staff joined us at Sedgefield Elementary School to learn more about how our school division is spending our CARES Act or ESSER funding. Congressman Scott heard a brief presentation, and then we visited several classrooms and participated in the ribbon cutting for Sedgefield's new book vending machines, which are purchased through Title I funding. The Congressman was able to see how these relief funds are being used to benefit our students. And he also saw some good teaching, too. Special thanks to Congressman Scott and the Sedgefield principal, Jackie Barber, and team for hosting today's event, which we really enjoyed starting the day at Sedgefield Elementary School. And thank you also to staff who prepared the presentation for Congressman Scott and assisted with the tours and information sharing. Yesterday, State Senator Monty Mason and Delegate Shelley Simons visited Heidenwood Elementary School to see how our students are benefiting from a new literacy lab, from our new literacy lab programs, and it's a partnership. They were able to see how the LETTERS program is advancing literacy and meet some of the dedicated AmeriCorps volunteers who lead small group and one-on-one tutoring sessions for some of our struggling learners. We'd like to thank Senator Mason and Delegate Simons for their visit yesterday, to Heidenwood Principal Brian Lieberman for leading us on a great tour. There's lots of good things to share this month. Newport News Public Schools is named to Virginia Living Magazine's top schools and universities list for 2022. Newport News Public Schools is featured in the magazine's State of Education section in the March-April issue, which is also on newsstands right now. 3 Newport News Public School teachers have been named Gold Star Teachers by WISE for working in support of education. Congratulations to Lisa McAllister and Hope London, CTE teachers at Denby High School, and Iris Harris Williams, a teacher at Woodside High School. This award recognizes teachers whose students scored above 93% or higher on pass rates for the financial literacy certification test. Congratulations also is in order for the students and CTE team at the Achievable Dream High School, which was named a Blue Star school in recognition of their high pass rate on the financial literacy test. We'll formally recognize them at a future board meeting. Yesterday, Newport News Education Foundation's Wayne Lett Scholar program went to Woodside High School to surprise our new Lett Scholar, Lauren Francis. Each year, and I see Mr. Brown smiling there, moving to Woodside. Each year, the Newport News Education Foundation selects one of our seniors who plans to become a teacher to receive a $10,000 Lett Scholarship. The recipient must commit to teach in Newport News for 3 years after they graduate from college. So, Mrs. Francis, we congratulate you and look forward to you joining the Newport News Public School team. And it was very poignant that one of the students who applied for the Lett Scholarship this year, she mentioned her favorite teacher was a former Lett Scholar. So one of our teachers made an impact on her, and that is why she had chosen to pursue a career in teaching. So giving back is very important. April is designated as the month of the military child, when we recognize and honor our military-connected students for their resilience and courage. Our region is home to Air Force, Army, Coast Guard, Marine Corps, Navy, National Guard, and Reserve families. As a show of support, I invite all students and staff to wear purple tomorrow, April 20th, for Purple Up for Military Kids Day, to show our combined support for our military students. Okay. Wear purple tomorrow. This is also National Autism Awareness Month. There are numerous community events taking place throughout April to increase understanding and acceptance and foster support of children and adults with autism. Newport News Public Schools has a wide range of resources to support and advance students, so I thank all of our dedicated special educators for their service to our students, in particular this month as well during National Autism Awareness Month. And that concludes my report this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Parker. We will now move on to item 6, which is another opportunity to hear from the public. At this time, Madam Clerk, do we have any cards?
No, sir.
All right. There being no cards, then we will adjourn our regular meeting, and then we will call to order our special meeting of the Newport News School Board for Tuesday, April 19th, 2022. The quorum is present to transact the business of the school division. So we'll start our special meeting with give some background on why we're having the meeting and how we got here. Recall in our in the April Chairman Update Memo, we had an acknowledgement that 3 board members contacted the chair to ask for a discussion on summer school policy in congruence with our norms and protocols. We are having this meeting tonight. Okay. We're having this meeting tonight for further context. Recall that back in August, when we did our board planning, summer school was noted as a priority by at least one board member. And so that's the context for having this tonight. So now at this time, I'm going to read the proposed policy. And after I read the proposed policy, then I'll ask for a motion. If there is none, then we'll stand adjourned very quickly. So the proposed policy is IHCA. And it reads as follows. The superintendent may establish a summer school program. Superintendent is authorized to select the calendar and hours of operation for summer school. Acceleration, enrichment, developmental, and remedial courses may be offered in the summer school at the elementary, middle, and high school levels. Notwithstanding the foregoing, for summer 2022, the superintendent shall establish a summer school program for all students scoring basic or below basic on a benchmark, standards of learning, assessment, or the equivalent. The schedule for such students shall prioritize progressing the students toward proficiency in the subject areas in which students should score basic, below basic, or the equivalent. Enrollment shall be automatic, provided that A, the parents or legal guardians of the automatically enrolled students shall have the ability to opt their students out of such summer program, and B, the superintendent may establish confirmation procedures to facilitate the staffing and logistics of such summer program. This is the same copy that you all received in your in the April Chairman Update Memo. And so at this time, I'll entertain a motion, if there is a motion, to adopt that revised policy, and if not, we will adjourn. All right. So is there a motion? All right. Hearing no motion, then we stand adjourned.